What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Hello, aloha, y'all, my friends. Welcome to the show. This is the Art of Vibrant Living show. I am Daniel Aaron, your host, and we got a great show. So cool. The Art of Vibrant Living, today's guest is like a poster child for that. And it didn't necessarily come easy. I'll tell you more about her in a moment. First, what is this show all about? What is this, the Art of Vibrant? Well, it's an art because there is no specific way. It depends on you. Of course, it takes information, it takes intention, and that's what this show is all about, is entertaining you, yes, also empowering you to live your most amazing, purpose-filled, passion-filled life so that your impact and your income and your entire life is thriving in the ways that you want. So please, one request as you watch this show today, yes, be entertained, be inspired. That'll happen automatically. And take something, choose one piece or more and say, wow, I can apply that to my life. Don't fall for the old, oh, I already know that stuff. No, go for mastery. Go for, how can I apply that more in my life? Take one thing, at least from today's show, from our amazing guest, and apply it in your life. And if you want help with that, please reach out. It's my greatest privilege and honor to serve people like you, to help you overcome obstacles and create your life into a masterpiece. Now, today's guest is phenomenal. Olga, whose last name I'm not going to pronounce. Oh, well, it's not that bad. Campora. Close enough. She'll tell me if I got it right. A phenomenal woman who has overcome a tremendous amount. Born in the Czech Republic, I think it's now called Czechia. There's some debate about what the official name is now. When it was in communism, right? And so she not only lived behind an iron curtain, she overcame that. She has an amazing story, which forms the basis of her book, whose title, let me make sure I get the title exactly right. Behind Enemy Lines. Oh, Saint Behind Enemy Lines. Goodness. And the amazing, let me stop talking about her because you can meet her yourself. What an inspiring, amazing woman. We're graced to have her with us today. So, Olga, thank you so much for not only being with us, but for what you've accomplished and created in your life. It's tremendous and inspiring. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. And thank you for the acknowledgement, Danielle. It's great to be with you.
Well, and I never know for sure what's going to happen on the show, right? What we're going to talk about. I don't know for the guests, like what's going to be the biggest nugget of gold they get. To me, though, with your story, and you've got so much experience, so much wisdom, you've helped so many people in so many different ways, and just what you've overcome in your own life is so inspiring and empowering for people. And so would you start with that? Would you share a little bit of what your journey has been, just to give some context for who you are for our audience?
Absolutely. Well, it's a great pleasure to be on this, the Art of Vibrant Living show, because the vibrant life, it's something that has been always like a journey for me. I shared with Aaron all the way before we got on on the stream here, that actually when I was back growing up in communist Czechoslovakia, it came to the point when I started writing a newsletter that was called The Art of Vibrant Living, and umění žít in Czech language. And it just was my way to share a little bit of light in a place that was truly dark as far as looking into possibilities that people can create in their lives, because every single aspect of their lives was in some way controlled by the government. And so, yes, I was growing up back in what was called Czechoslovakia. And then later on, it became the Czech Republic, and today Czechia. And I was born in time that there was a full communist government in power. And I remember just we are coming into the holiday season, Christmas. And I remember it was the only time of a year that I actually was able to taste it, fruits such as oranges or pineapple or bananas. Those things were not available to me during the year. So I remember how always it was just kind of fantastic to come into the season and have some goodies that other people in other parts of the world were like, they would not even think like, is that possible that you didn't have bananas during the year? I eat banana every single morning. So yes, it was a completely different environment I was growing up. And honestly, as I was older, I just felt like, there was a certain regret, like what would happen if I were born in a different place, how my life would be with so many, possibilities and so many opportunities that I don't have. And later on, we can kind of, expand on it. I realized, wow, the greatest blessing of my life was that I was born in a soil where I was born, in a communist Czechoslovakia. It was the greatest gift that the creator or divine or whatever you call it, what it's, close to your heart, has given me as a soil to become who I have become today. And I'm just so grateful for that.
Well, that's beautiful. And I think I know what you mean. But let's play with that a little bit, because it sounds, you've only told a little bit. Okay, you didn't get bananas during the year. Okay, that's something that, yeah, we take for granted over here. But that's not the hardest thing, right? That's not the darkness that you were bringing light into. Okay, that's one symptom. But I know, I only know from what I've heard. I wasn't there, but there was a lot more challenge and darkness in that. So how is it that you can look at that and say, oh, wow, that's the greatest gift?
Yes, I think what is just, remarkable as I look back is that when you are in a place that the choices seem to be limited, if you want to live life that is exciting, one thing is really important, and that is that you need to become creative. Meaning whenever there is someone telling you no, I have learned that, and anyone telling me no, it's the greatest opportunity to create yes. And I would give you, some examples, from my life. When I was finishing high school, I wanted to enter university level and study. And I learned that I could not be accepted at the university. You had to pass some exams. I passed the exams. Everything was fine. And I just got a letter that said that for a high number of the applicants, we cannot accept you at the school. But that really is a BS, because as I was looking around at other people from high school who were accepted, I knew what their grades were. I know who they are, that they were kids of, some communists, that, we had in a town. And I realized that it was not necessarily the performance, that was counted, but it was just belonging or not belonging to a communist party. So that was the very first awakening in my life to realize, oh, I just kind of, see that I can try as hard as I can, but I need to become very creative how to just, how to go about it. So if I may just kind of tell you, this is kind of a cool story because, of course, I was devastated and my parents had only a certain amount of resources to help me to go forward. And they told me, Olga, we just cannot help you, just, to get you into the school. You have to find a way. And I did. I was very, very active in sports. And at that point, I was involved in fencing, and I was competing on national level in fencing. And I tell you how that is just, connected to the story I want to tell you. I had to find a job because, I was not accepted, at the university. So I had to find a job, and I found a job at school, and I was helping, the teachers. And there was one particular teacher who taught physical education, and we became really good friends. She was very young, and I told her my story, and she just told me, Olga, the only way for you to get to the university is that you need to build up on the fact that you are actually competing for the country in fencing, so that the communists can see that you are actually contributing to the government. So she suggested, let's study physical education. And the way the educational system was set up was that you have to pick two subjects, and she told me, and pick a communist philosophy or a civic education as your second degree. And I was like, are you kidding me? Do you mean that in order to get in a school, I have to just, I love physical education, and it was fine, to get me, in that direction. But just kind of in addition, she just told me that's the only way. You have to show that you are just, aligning with the system. Anyway, to make the story short, I did that. And I actually was able to get into school, and then a little bit changed just kind of, the direction of my study. And it was just, awakening that I realized, okay, and there is a chapter in my book, The Saint Behind Enemy Lines, where I call Detour. I had to take kind of, detour in order just kind of, to get into the school. And it was, it was such a wonderful opportunity for me because I am from a really, really tiny, small town that has had at point about 30,000 inhabitants, so it was a small little town. And suddenly I got into a bigger place. I was studying in Brno, which is the second largest university, in the Czech Republic. And that opened up a door just kind of to not only in a study, but just into a life that allowed me just to start seeing more, being more, and realizing there is more to life. So that was very first experience where I realized no is not an answer for me, and let's go and find the way that just, I can really live the life or my dream and moving forward. And little I know where that took me, that could be another story. So I thought that it would be really good to maybe share that, for the listeners, why I am saying that, I really actually appreciate where I was born, because it helped me to be incredibly creative, and just no is answer for me.
That's beautiful. And it's a great story. It's inspiring. It says so much about who you are. And part of what I love about that is, I'm guessing that very few of our audience members right now are, living in a communist regime and have trouble getting out of it, right? So they're not going to relate exactly like that. Though who amongst us hasn't wanted something, gone for something? Who amongst us right now doesn't have a dream or a goal and then encounter some kind of obstacle to it, right? Encounter some way that the world or the government or our partner or custom, whatever it is, says no, right? And on some level, that's like, it's always an opportunity, a test to say, okay, well, thank you for that. Let me find another way. Let me persevere inside myself and find another way. So what you shared is directly applicable for everyone, 100%. Yeah. So let's say this also, because most of us don't have the experience of the experience of being an immigrant, right? Of being in one country and leaving to another. I lived a lot of my life as an expatriate, living in another country, but not the same thing. I wasn't leaving. Well, I was going to say I wasn't leaving a dark place, although on some level I was leaving the United States, and there are elements of darkness to the United States. Every country has its light and dark, right? I lived in other countries, but not for the same kind of reasons. And then I also had the experience of living overseas for 20 something years and coming back to the US and saying, oh, now I feel like an immigrant in the country I was born in. But for you, that was a really big transition to go from communism, from Czechoslovakia, as it was called then, to live in the West. And your first destination was Canada, is that right?
No, actually, my first destination was Utah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, so anyway, what I was going to ask is, how did that happen? What was your experience? Because there's some cool and miraculous pieces to that, if I'm remembering right.
Yes, absolutely. So what actually happened at the university level where I was interested in yoga, and I met a really great friend of mine, and she told me, Olga, I just know this guy who is absolutely incredible. He wrote the first book about yoga. He's someone who is recognized, in our country to establish yoga, in the communist Czechoslovakia. And she just says, if you are interested, we can go and we can visit him. So that visit with what I would call my first coach, my first mentor, and my first teacher, Mr. Otakar Vojkůvka, that first meeting has completely changed my life. I went there with my Czech friend. My friend never ever would go back. Sometimes we have people in our lives, right, Danielle, that they just, are the pathway for us to open up the door. And she was one of them. And I'm so grateful for her, that she did that, because that opened up the journey to start studying with a gentleman who knew so much about life. The first thing, when I walked into his house, he was in his 70s. And when I walked in his house, and in his living room, it was full of books. But it was really interesting because it was just very different type of books. I could see, I was asking me, what are these books? They don't look just like normal books, meaning the way they look, the covers. And he just says, well, my wife, she has been translating some books, into Czech. And so we just type them on the recorder, make a few copies, and we gave them some friends. And that's just the way, we have grown spiritually, in our lives. And so I was introduced to this just absolutely a new life, and new life meaning really introduced to something that I was longing, since I was a little kid. I feel like I intentionally was drawn to spirituality. When you talk about vibrant just kind of means full of spirit, right? And I know that since I was a little kid, there was something in me. I knew that there was something more to life, and I couldn't put a finger on it. And so when I met this man and I saw the library and, and so many just kind of resources there, I just knew that I came to the place that it's going to be transformational to my life. And it was, because, I started studying with him yoga. And then, of course, it just brought me to understanding a little bit my connection with whatever we would call it, with divine, with God, with Heavenly Father, with Jehovah, whatever we call it, just, that was so instrumental to me to realize, yes, that power is out there. And I'm also part of that, just kind of, divine power. And so that was when I was 19 years old. And what happened was, at that point, is I also did not know that he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I didn't even know what that religion was about. And so when he introduced me, to all the resources, I was totally blown away by just the way this man was living his life. You met him and you just saw him, and there was a light. There was just simply a light. His smile was just big. He was a shorter guy, but he opened up the door, and all what you could see, beautiful eyes and a huge big smile. And so I knew that this guy was really living what he was, talking about. We know that if you want to know somebody's heart, look just kind of, what their actions are. And I saw what he was creating and how he was helping other people. And so honestly, it just brought me to two sources of spirituality. One of them was yoga, and the other one was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Both of the resources were kind of hidden, in front of the communists, because both of the yoga and the church exist more or less in the underground. You would have to be very careful the way you shared yoga, and there was no way to talk about the church, because the church had origin here in the United States, and therefore it was an enemy. Whatever was from the United States, it's an enemy. So, of course, it was just all of these sources were underground. And I cannot tell you how actually grateful I am that it's kind of strange, that I am a yogi and I'm also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm the member of the church, and I am just so open to yoga and any other resources that help me to grow, to be more love, to be more at service. But just kind of, that's my foundation, all of these sources, and I know that it kind of almost sounds controversial, but it just works beautifully to me. And it was because of, being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I got this incredible invitation to come to the United States as a translator. And, honestly, at that point, when I was invited to come to do some translation for the church, I just, knew that was absolutely impossible, because I was young, I was single. Well, that's a red flag for sometimes somebody to leave the country. And when I was asked to come, I just said, well, it's great. I really appreciate just, the invitation that I got to come. But I just knew that probably it's not going to be possible. But I was just like, okay, let's go. Now, you need to know that if you wanted to travel to a Western country, or especially to the United States, you had to have a several number of signatures from communists. And if only one signature would be no, or one under one just kind of line would be no, we don't recommend this person to go, you just, you needed 20 signatures, and if there was one no, you didn't go. And I'll tell you, I know that just the universe wanted me to be here in this land, because I could not believe it. It was time after time, yes, 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 yes. And I was like, oh my goodness, there is something bigger in this than I can even comprehend. And so I open up to it. And I really came because people just kind of gathered the money for me to buy me the ticket so that I could come, because my Czech money didn't mean anything. It came like $150 in my pocket. But, it was such a beautiful way for the universe to just guide me. And I just opened up to it. Of course, it was scary, because I came completely in a place where life and just environment was just so different. I'll tell you something, Danielle, when I first landed, so my first place was, to come to Utah. And I remember just looking from the airplane and seeing the vast, just kind of, nature around me, and the mountains, because you know how beautiful just kind of, mountains are around that area. Something, like my heart, exploded. I just remember, I walked outside of the airplane, was walking at just kind of through the airport there in Salt Lake, and I saw the mountains. And I walked outside on the street, and I felt this sense of spaciousness and freedom, not even talking to anybody. because, when you live in Europe, everything is a little bit just, people live very close to each other, and suddenly I was just, and it was not only physical space, Danielle, it was just, I sensed, just the majesty of possibilities that just kind of are there. That was one thing, like anything is possible for me. Anything is possible. So it was just, really a marvelous, experience that I have had just to be brought here. And I honestly thought that I would be just here for the amount of time that, I was invited to come. But, then other things took on on its own, meaning my husband and just, getting married and just really establishing my life here, in the United States. And I just cannot tell you. It's just anytime, of course, in the beginning, you are so homesick. I struggle with the language, because there back in the Czech Republic, I got Ph.D. I was, teaching on, university level. Here I came and I spoke like at 5 years old. So that was a cool experience to crush the ego. And I love that, So it just, it has been a quite, remarkable opportunity. And it's again, just, looking, like you said, it's not the place, but what you make it mean, because you can be anywhere in the world. It's really, what do you choose to think about it? What you choose, how deliberate you are, to live life that it's on purpose. And that has been something, living on purpose, that has been something that has been just like a bloodline in me inside, because I know that the reason I'm on this earth is to love like nobody's business, love myself, love God, love people around me, and just to be at service. I'm just so excited, to be in such a great health. I'm 63 years old and I'm in such a vibrant health, and I'm so grateful for it that I just look for another 30, 40 years, just kind of, and I see myself serving and living and just really uplifting other people's lives, because my life has been incredibly blessed. It doesn't mean it was always easy, but it has been incredibly blessed.
Wow. That's beautiful. All that you said, it brought for me 27 new questions and so much. Well, so let me start with this. Acknowledging you for the courage that you had, right? Yes, the persistence, the perseverance, but the courage. You talked about how, being a young single woman is a red flag, somebody that might, not come back to the communist country, but also single young woman. Of course, that's going to be a scary experience to go do that. So the courage that you had to say, all right. And, what's also, and you really referred to this second part in the midst of what you said, the compassion and the desire to serve and help other people, right? That's a through line that I'm seeing through all of your stories now. That's been part of there, from creating a newsletter with a wonderful title, The Art of Vibrant Living, right? Wanting to bring some light to people, to saying, wow, how can I share with people in my current life and my work? How can I bring this translation work to help people, right? So, and there's of course a relationship between courage and compassion, because when we have a desire to help someone, well, we have to go out of ourselves and oftentimes out of our comfort zone. It takes courage. And when I relate to your story about the language too, because the first place I lived overseas was Spain. And when I moved there, I didn't know, I didn't know 3 words. And I was right away over my head, and pretty soon I'm like, hey, my savings have run out. I got to make some money. So I started doing what I was doing, which was astrology. That was my main work at the time. And one of my first clients said to me, Daniel, and she said it in Spanish. She said, you're a very good astrologer, but you have the vocabulary of a child. It was great. It was completely true. But like you, for me, that was a blessing because I realized, like, yeah, I don't know a lot of words in this language. So now I'm learning, how do I communicate? How do I reach this person? How do I express myself with this limited vocabulary? And of course, after that, I was like, I think I need to learn some other specific words about this world. But it's such a powerful thing to learn a different language and be in a place where you don't speak the language. And of all the many directions we could go, I want to snap back for a minute, because you said something that really caught my attention. And if I understood right, you were speaking about two of the important parts of your life is your involvement with the church, right? And I get that, and I respect that and appreciate that. As Rumi said, there are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. And then on the flip side, right, relatedly, there's the Rumi bridge here to yoga. And for me, I grew up like with no religion, right? Everybody had just abandoned religion. And it wasn't until I got a kind of a divine whack on the head that I could even open up to the word God. But before that, I got into yoga and I started learning about these Eastern things. And then it really surprised me that for a lot of people in the world, church or religion, and especially in some realms in Christianity, is kind of like opposed to yoga. Somebody actually said to me a couple of weeks ago, like, Daniel, you seem like a very spiritual guy, but I heard you talk about astrology. And my response was, yes. And then I realized, oh, right, for him, like that's like in his worldview, that's kind of like devil's work or something like that. And I think I heard you refer to that there sometimes is a schism that is not there for you. So can you say more about that, what you experienced?
Absolutely. Such a beautiful just, topic. Yes. Because, I think on the both sides of aisles, organized religion or just kind of, being completely a free spirit. I think what is, really important is for people to find a common language. It's just so easy to just go all the way to one side, whatever it is, okay? And that's the only way, right? And if you just kind of, close yourself, that way, you are blind. You are even blind actually in pursuit of, your spirituality within the place that you feel comfortable, because you are only within a certain boundaries. I think that we are stepping into the century where I feel that, it just doesn't matter for people what they, how they relate to God or divine, but how are you showing up? Are you really someone who can love everybody, even though that you might not agree just with the way, what they believe in or how they believe or how they perceive, God or a divine, or they don't believe at all, they are atheists, how can we just, step up in this 21st century and find a common word, common language? Because I know that it sounds completely just, for some people who are from yoga world and they hear, like, oh, she's a member of the church, or she's in organized religion. Well, there is something wrong about it. Well, do you know what? If you think that way, think again, because that's not my problem. It's your problem. What is the most important thing is how I am showing up. Am I really the expression of God? Am I really someone who is an eternal and divine, just kind of, child of the universe? Because I look at myself as I am God's perfect creation. If you have a problem with that, it's not, your problem, it's my problem. So going back, I think, going to both sides of aisles, or there are more aisles, not two, just, organized and unorganized. I think it's just, we need to just find a way, how can I respect, when someone, is this and is that? How do I look at it? Do I look at them as yogi? Do I look at them as a member of the church? Do I look at them as a Buddhist? Do I look at him as a Muslim? And because of that, I have some beliefs and reservations, okay? Or am I capable in whoever I am? Because, I am unique. There is no other Olga, there's no other Daniel in this world. And so for my spirit and for my eternal progression, it is exactly what I need. And if there is something I need to drop off and shed my skin and find something more, I am all up to it. But I am always open to just kind of, anything new. Like we are talking about astrology. There is really a lot to astrology, and of course in organized religion, you just say, well, that's the word of, of the devil, so it's just like, can I look at the things and still see things? I mean, there were like, when Jesus was born, there was those three, what do you call those? Not three angels, three kings who were coming, right, to meet him. Well, and they were talking about the stars. We have even in the New Testament, think about it. They knew something about the stars, right? Not something, but they knew a lot. But, so going back into it, I really, because these are especially what's happening in the world right now, where we are, what's happening just, in Gaza and Palestine and Jerusalem and all these places, I think that we are really stepping, into a new place to realize, I really cannot change anybody 100 miles away from me, but I really have the influence to change where I am standing. Can I listen to someone, not completely agree, and have a beautiful conversation that it's based on love, that I am searching for where can we agree? Because when we find that place, we find love. We find love for each other, and we find love, in our common just kind of grammar and communication, we both of us will grow, and we both of us will leave the conversation up-leveled, uplifted, and appreciating just kind of, each other journey and honoring it. So I don't know. I know that it probably answers your question in just more general terms, but I'm just so passionate about this because in both fields, in yoga, I see people who are so judgmental or so dismissive of certain things. And I see it in my church, as well, and I think it's time to rise up. It's time to just kind of, up-level ourselves. Where? In the place of unconditional love. And especially in the level how we treat ourselves. There is a scripture in the New Testament that talks about love thy God with all thy strength, all thy heart, all thy mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And I think that a lot of us, who belong also to the Christian world, we forget about this last part, that we are supposed to love the neighbor just like ourselves. And Daniel, this has been a really huge, big work for me. This whole just kind of past few years, and especially this year, I have realized how the most important work I can do is really to find a healthy relationship with myself, to love myself, to treat myself as a friend. Because as I have been on this journey, loving myself, I realize how much closer I am to God, how much closer I am to my awesome husband, to my boys, to my sons, to anyone around me. And hope that that is something that, some people, in the Christian world recognize that it's actually a healthy, very healthy thing to create the most loving relationship with yourself, because you can only love other people to the level that you really love yourself.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. And I appreciate you expanding the question, because it's true. It's, there are people over here who think this is the right way and those one, but it happens equally, in all kinds of camps. Of course, not for everybody, but certainly people, and call it exclusivity, or thinking I've got the right way, or spiritual snobbery is, a way that it shows up sometimes.
Right.
And I'm with you. Like, it seems like the biggest lesson that we need on the planet right now is to love thy neighbor, to love the person with the other religion, the other color skin. I would say the person with the other species, right? Maybe they've got 4 legs instead of 2.
Right.
They deserve love also, right? And I know it's funny, as you said that, it brought me a new awareness, which was when I was a kid, I not only did I not come up in religion, I was opposed to religion. Like I had an issue with religion as a kid. And part of that was because I saw so much hypocrisy, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And like you said, well, sometimes people forget about that love thy neighbor as thyself part. And not everyone, of course, there are always exceptions. So for me, when I had the blessing of the spiritual 2x4 upside the head, then it came to me like, oh, you know what? The divine, which now I can use the word God, is everywhere, including in religion, right? You can find it there too. And one of my favorite quotations from Sri Bhagwan Rajneesh said, the purpose of all of our education is to learn to love, right? Like it's all about learning to love. And I'm listening to a book right now called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, right? And even though it's not been a foreign concept to me that loving myself is the same as loving you, is the same as loving my daughter or my cat or my friend, it's a different thing to know it in the head and to feel it in the heart, like the great Native American expression that the longest human journey is from the head to the heart, to be able to apply that. So thank you for being such a not just a voice for that wisdom of love and inclusion, but for practicing that and bringing it in your life and bridging these worlds.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
May I just kind of, I really love, some of the listeners might not know Steve Harrison. There is a really beautiful book that is called The Ultimate Coach that was written by his wife, Amy Harrison and Alan D. Thompson. And I really love this book. This book really had opened up, to me, eyes to who I am being, because I had it kind of, backwards before, that I always was thinking, you have to do things in order to become something and therefore have something. And it is this book that had introduced me completely to a new concept. And that is that it is be, do, and have. And what I really love in that, it's a phenomenal book. And one of the things that I really love, what Steve says, is that, learn to listen and study from any books of wisdom. And he is saying, and if you don't like the anchovies, just leave the anchovies and take out of the pizza what you like about pizza, and I love that, I love that about just kind of, the approach of being open to study, to explore, to expand. And simply, if there is something that you don't resonate with, it's okay, but it doesn't have to be. For so many people, as soon as they see something, that is just, that anchovy, they just, put things down. And I think for me, that was a huge opening, what Steve said, because it's just so true, because there are so many, not only wonderful resources, but you see some really great people. You might not agree with certain things. Take the anchovies, away, and just think, what can I learn? How can I grow from this? What is there for me that I can really be more loving, in this world? Because like you said, Danielle, it's in the end, it's all about love. And really, my vision is, going forward in the world, I see the world coming together, meaning all people together, regardless the spirituality or whatever the corners of the art. We need to learn how to unite, how to speak the language of love. And I think that is the most important thing. And whatever just kind of helps you, Danielle, to do that, go for it. whatever helps me, just kind of, let's go for it. Because at the end, love is everything. I am love, and love is everything. And if I live from just, that place, I know that my life has meaning. Because at the end, if you look at all people, Einstein, all people just kind of, who created Gandhi, it's just people who have really created something incredible in the world. It was through the lenses of love. Because from love, there comes, the compassion, it comes the strength, the courage, the capability to overcome. Because if I love, I don't have fear, right? And if I don't have a fear, I might do things that are uncomfortable, and mainly just kind of being myself. I am not apologetic who I am. And if people have a problem with that, that's fine. But I know, I have met, this year someone who just, really also, has helped me to understand how we impact other people's lives. His name is Alok, and I hope that I pronounce his name good. Alok Apadurai. I hope that I am not butchering his name. But he said something really interesting, that we, each of us, have the capacity to uplift the millions. And I was like, well, wait a minute, because he was like, you are capable, Olga, to uplift millions. And what he is saying that, when you work with your client and you help your client, you are not only helping your client, you are helping his relationship, you are helping his family, you are helping him to show up in his business, in his world, in his community, in his way of influence, that he is uplifting other people. And when he is uplifting others, then it's just kind of, like this ripple, effect that we have. And I think it's really good just kind of to have that vision. I caught that vision that Alex just, shared with me, because I honestly feel, yes, that's true. We, all of us, our mission is uplift millions. And doing it just, by loving work that we do, whatever that means in the niche and in the just kind of field of work that we do, you and me as coaches and other people in different, in different jobs and occupations. But for me, that's what it's about. Can I have that vision that my work has impact? And I know that it has. And I know that you do as well.
Beautiful. Nicely said. Yeah, and we never know the full extent of our efforts, right?
Absolutely.
Yet if we hold ourselves to the vision, and maybe even hold ourselves isn't the right way of saying it, if we raise ourselves up to a higher vision that what I'm doing, the way I'm carrying myself through the world, the work I'm doing is for a purpose as noble as uplifting millions, as serving millions, then much more likely that we rise to a higher level of possibility for the way we carry ourselves and the impact that we create by having that vision.
Yeah, because it's you who elevates the world. It's the way I show up purposefully every day. You having the show, us having this conversation. I know that there's going to be at least one person that this conversation is going to be transformational in one way or another. They shift something, in their way of being, who they are, how they are showing up. And there simply will be then other just kind of shifts that will happen in the lives, And so that's just what it's just, so beautiful. Be intentional, just like you are intentional about the beautiful work that, you are doing. You are a giant in the way how you are presenting just kind of, yourself and giving people opportunities to share, their heart, because that's what we are doing. You have allowed me to just share my heart. And I cannot thank you just kind of, enough for that, because it's so, this is so beautiful to be able to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And what a gift it is to have you with us. And to step back for a moment, you spoke about the book, The Ultimate Coach, and Steve Hardison and Amy Hardison. And for any of our viewers who haven't seen it, Amy was a guest on this show a few weeks ago, so you could find that under the past shows. extraordinary, and the influence that book and that community has had on many people, ourselves included, is phenomenal. So now, Olga, since time is flying along here and I've got so many things I would love to ask you about, and we could talk for hours, let me pause though and shut my mouth and say, what have I not asked you about, or what else would you like to share that is most resonant with your heart?
Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so much. I think that, Danielle, one thing that I really have learned more recently in just the way who I am being is how really important the word commitment is. I always knew that anything that I have created in my life comes from the level of commitment that I have. But recently I just, learned how when I have a really 100% commitment, I really show up in a completely different way. I am still learning how to be my word 100%, meaning just when I say something that I will do it. And so I've been really more intentional where I say yes and when I say no, because commitment to me is everything in my personal growth. The other thing that I wanted to just, share is that the word retire is not in my vocabulary. There is just this fun book, for some people. This is such a fun book. It's a book that says My Plan for Living to 156 from Dan Sullivan. He's really very pronounced author and guy. But, he says something, and I have it here on just kind of, my paper. He just says that there is something that happens to our brain when we accept the idea to retire. Our creative juices go bye-bye. And so, here I am 63, but I feel like I'm like a little bamboo, If you know about bamboo sits in a ground for so long. Nothing is going on. You have to water it. It has to have the sun, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. And then suddenly, just kind of, it starts to sprout. And man, in that 1 year, it just grows to just kind of, so many feet to becoming a beautiful bamboo. And I honestly, I feel like a bamboo, that this is happening just kind of, for me, that I just feel like I'm in that stage of being bamboo in my just kind of way to be in the world and serve in a ways like never before. Just, the desire and just the commitment that I have to myself and to people who I serve is just a joy. So commitment and just kind of nowhere to retire. And then the other thing that I really want to say is, really honestly, having a mentor, having a teacher, having someone in your life that can see things the way you just are not able to see for one reason or another. I just cannot tell you how grateful I was when I was 19 to meet Mr. Vojkovka in the Czech Republic. And I remember when I came here to United States, there was a long period of time where I was longing. I felt like it's not that I need to be taught by somebody, but there was something about this guy, the way he holds space for me, the way he was able to listen to me. I just miss that. And it is just kind of, in the past 5 years when I, added to me as a yoga therapist, life coaching certification, I started just kind of, dipping into this world that I was longing for so many years, actually, more than 3 decades. I was longing, there was something inside. And of course, so I hired, I hired coaches, and I have currently a coach, and I see how much that has helped me to move forward. So that's just for me. I know that some people, it just doesn't resonate, but for me, having an exceptional coach and being able to invest in myself is the best thing that has ever just, happened, to my life. because I know that if somebody can look at me from a perspective for the bird's view that I just kind of, cannot see, it's just, always, transformational. So those are, three things, if people are, interested, just, where I'm coming from, commitment, not retiring, and just, always, being capable and able to invest in myself so that I can love more, I can serve more, I can be a better spouse, I can love my husband like I have never loved him yesterday. It's my goal, just, my family, just be there. And whatever that is and opens up in my world that is going to teach me to love more, bring it. So that's all what I would say.
That's great. Beautiful. And I'm with you. Coaching is not for everybody, because some people, want to go the slow way, or are, resistant for whatever reason. However, everything that you said, those 3 points, and I love all of them, right? So yes, being able to make commitments, so incredibly powerful. Yes, also having the vision of not retiring, and yes, having coach, mentors, people that help us. To me, all of that fits with under the basic principle of life, which is we're either growing or we're dying. And one of the basic tenets of the art of vibrant living is, if we want to have an extraordinary life, a vibrant life, it is an absolute prerequisite that we are consciously growing, right? Because the spirit part of all of us that came to this earth school to expand, to grow, to evolve, is thriving when we are consciously growing. And if we make commitments, which sometimes is scary, and if we have a vision for our life going on and continuing and uplifting, and if we have somebody that loves us, that has some wisdom, that has perspective, that holds us to a higher standard, then we are going to be growing faster and better than we could on our own. 100%. Same for me. I have several coaches in my life. I have, for going on 30 something years, I've always had mentors that helped me to grow. Incredible. So thank you for that. And I think we better, time's right. We got 2 things to do. So I know that you have a kind gift for our audience. Would you be up for saying a word about that?
Yes, I will be doing a 4-day challenge that will start next Monday, that it's called Master the Art of Being Enough. So if people are interested to a little bit learn more how to have a better relationship with themselves, how to befriend themselves, how to learn the art of loving themselves, I would be happy to, have them to join me. It will be Monday through Thursday. We will always meet for an hour at noon Eastern time. I think that Daniel probably will put just kind of, link down there. People can click on it and just, be able to register. I would love to expand on these topics that we have had, together. So yes, would love to have more conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's great. And I put the link, the URL, into the comments, which shows up in the various platforms. It's a little too long and funny numbers for me to say out loud. I have my limits on.
I have to be better. I have to just kind of, know how to create it, just kind of, more simple. But people can be creative. Just click on it, guys, and you will get there.
Yeah. Well, and relatedly, then, Olga, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yes. So my website is www.olgacampora.com. So they can, go there and they can contact me from there, and I would be happy to continue the conversation if they have any questions. If they suffer with back pain, that's one of my, really strong suits. I really help people with that as well. So yes, please connect with me, as you click on the website there. Lots of
so for y'all that are just listening, it's Olga Campora, which is OlgaCampora.com. And then you can reach out directly to Olga to get involved with the 4-day challenge. You definitely want to do that. You'd be foolish not to do that. Why not grow in your capacity that way with Olga? So Olga, last question, the big question, the impossible question, because you got so much wisdom, and this is just massively big, this question. Would it be okay if I ask you? Okay, so you've shared so much, you've experienced so much. If you had to boil it all down into one thing, one piece of advice for our audience, what they could do, not do, what they could employ in their lives in order to create a vibrant, thriving life, what's the one thing?
And it goes back what I said, before. The most important thing is finding a common language with people who you don't like or you disagree. Just find one area, one belief, one thought that you can build on conversation to start fostering the spirit of love. That's what it's all about. Love is everything. And so that's, how I would boil everything, who I am. Just finding one simple thought area of agreement, belief that we can just take on together, you and me, and just create the spirit of love and start creating from that place.
Amen. Beautifully said. Yeah, and we could say how that is the purest wisdom that runs through all spiritual traditions, incredible value and a massive practice. If one takes that on, it lasts a lifetime and yields a lifetime of benefits. So thank you for that. And Olga, thank you just so much for not just for being on the show and taking this time, which I really appreciate, also for the incredible amount of perseverance, work, courage that you've shown in your life to evolve in the ways that you have to make yourself a person of such humility and love and value to everybody. Your modeling, your presence is truly a gift to everybody. So thank you for that as well.
Well, thank you, Danielle, for seeing in me what is in you, because we can only see in others what is in us. So I see the same in you. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity to share this space with you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Well, and that's a great segue for y'all in the audience, because the thanks go mostly to you, because you are a legend. You are not only interested in creating more vibrancy in your life, you're doing something about it, that you've had this time with us, that you've been here with us, that you care enough to invest in yourself. Highest yield, the only reliable investment in the world is the investment in yourself. That speaks volumes about you, and not just you. You are changing the world. You raising your vibration, creating more passion, joy, love in your life. It does absolutely make a difference in the world. And I honor you. I love you. I'm so grateful that you are doing that, and privileged for this opportunity to be with y'all. And again, if you would like some help, you've got so many great resources. Please reach out to me. Let's have a conversation, and tune in, please, again next week. We've got an amazing show coming up. So y'all, thank you. Once again, it's been the Art of Vibrant Living show. Until I see you next time, please make your life even more of a masterpiece. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.